Today I'll be finally revealing my entire watch collection. It's been almost 2 years since I showed my entire collection here on YouTube, and it's fair to say that my collection has changed a lot since then. I have sold more watches than I could even count at this point, but I've also replaced them, and in my opinion, upgraded them too. And I must say I do have such a weird collection. I'm quite an impulsive buyer, so I'm usually left with a strange selection of watches. However, over the past year, I've really been trying to curate my collection, which has involved me selling some very popular watches that you guys might actually be surprised at me selling. So first, let me take you through a few of the watches that I've recently sold and the reasons for me selling them. One of the first casualties of my collection was the Christopher Ward Malvern 595. This one was definitely an impulse buy. I saw it on eBay for a good price and pulled the trigger. I was attracted to this one because of its stunning manual wind ETA 7001 movement, which was visible through the sapphire caseback. This piece was a staggering 5.9mm thin, but in my opinion, this watch was actually too thin, especially with the 39mm case diameter. So although it was a beautiful minimal piece, it just wasn't for me. Another watch that saw the chopping block was the Spinnaker Cahill Admiral Blue. This one though I really did enjoy. This was my first Spinnaker watch and it certainly did not disappoint. The domed sapphire with the AR coating was a standout on this piece. The watch was crystal clear all day long. I found myself wearing it less and less though, so it moved on to a new home. No surprise with this one for whoever has been a fan of the channel for a while. The Moon Swatch left my collection a few months ago. I just had to try one out and see what all the fuss was about, and it turns out the hype is a bit false. The watch was super fun and very photogenic. I just didn't enjoy the build quality. I was too worried about knocking it against a door handle or accidentally getting it wet, and I'm someone who likes to treat a watch as a tool. This one still stings to this day, and I now know that seller's remorse is a very real thing. The Yama Rallygraph was my first proper chronograph. I imported it from France after a few months of searching for a chronograph. I wore the Rallygraph a hell of a lot, and enjoyed every single second of it, but I was planning to upgrade to an old Speedmaster model, so I moved it on. I've since been looking at maybe getting it back. After selling a few watches, I had some money to play with, so I decided to buy something that was a little more expensive. I decided to pick up the Breitling Col Ocean. This one again was a good price on eBay from a reputable seller, so I picked it up. Sadly though, this piece had a non-original replacement movement, so luckily I managed to return it and get my money back. So those are just a few of the watches that I've owned over the past year but decided to sell. But these next watches coming up are ones that I still own today, and I'll tell you what I like about them if they're also on the chopping block. And at the end, I'll tell you a few watches that I've really been considering buying. One of my favourites in my current collection is a fairly new purchase. This is the Tag Heuer 2000 made in approximately 1989. I just wanted a vintage tag. For me, they just have so much character. I feel like us enthusiasts get caught up these days in specs. Does it have a sapphire crystal? Does it have an automatic movement? What about an on-the-fly adjustment? But sometimes I just think that a good looking watch trumps everything else, and I think this 38mm vintage tag just has bucket loads of charm. So forget the specs, it's just a good looking cool watch to own, and I love it. I picked up this Oris Big Crown 3 around a year ago now. I was unsure about it at first, because it only has a 35mm case. I thought that it might look too tiny on my wrist, but again, it's full of character. And this Oris really made me realise that I actually like smaller watches, and the wearing experience helps the enjoyment of the watch. So I find myself throwing this one on all the time, and loving every single second of it. And surprisingly, for a 20-year-old automatic watch, it's still within 1 second a day of perfect time. So yeah, no plans to get rid of this one anytime soon. Yes, the Kuo Old Smith. I made a video on this not too long ago and people love it. I featured this watch in a video about Japanese watch brands. Then Kuo got in touch asking me to review one, so I was happy to have it in. It's a proper little stunner, and again with a 35mm case size. My only problem with this watch is the crystal. It's so reflective. I should have got the sapphire upgrade that comes with AR. This one though will be sold soon. That super shiny crystal is just too annoying for me to wear often. This one is one of my favourite watches this year. It's the Boltony Bronze Bezel Diver. I instantly fell in love with this watch when I saw it online. This one's definitely a keeper. I just love the combination of steel and bronze, and these steel studs in the bezel are just so eye-catching. I think Boltony nailed the design on this piece, and it's an original design too. Well, it's borrowed some design cues from other watches but merged them together nicely. I picked up this Fortis Flieger from a random auction on eBay. I had no clue what I was buying, as finding information on this watch is near impossible. It turns out that this is similar to what the Moon Swatch is. Fortis was struggling struggling during the 80s, so they released a cheaper version of a pilot's watch with a mineral crystal, quartz movement, and a pretty average build quality. But I like it. It's full of vintage charm with the patinaed lume and scratches all over the case and crystal. This one is already up for sale on my website if you're interested. I'll leave a link for it down below. Okay, if you think I don't appreciate a super affordable watch, then this will change your mind. This is the Sander Tank, a $20 Cartier tank homage that has a brass case and mineral crystal, but I just like it. It nails the details way better than any $20 watch has any right doing, and this watch has made me thirsty to buy an actual vintage Cartier tank. I like how these smaller rectangular watches look on the wrist, and I occasionally throw it on for the day when I'm feeling a bit dressy. I'll leave an affiliate link for this one down in the description. It's only $20, so check it out. The Tissot Automatics 3. This was actually my first ever mechanical Swiss watch, and to be honest, I don't wear it much anymore, but it is special to me. I actually lost this watch one night when I went out drinking, and somehow I managed to get it back. For that reason, I'll never be able to sell this watch. The fact that it was my first Swiss mechanical piece and somehow managed to find its way back to me means I have to keep this one forever. Oh, and it's actually a pretty good watch too. Now, I'll bunch my Casios together so I'm not repeating myself with each section. I have three: a baby blue F91W, a Casio Royale on a Vario leather, and an AE 1300. I love all three of these, my favourite probably being the F91. They are all just so much fun to wear, and I wear them once or twice a month. These three though have you completely covered in life, and it makes you think, why the hell do we even bother buying anything else? After picking up the Sander Tank, I went searching for a cool affordable micro brand take on the tank. That's when I found the Vario Versa, so I asked Ivan over at Vario if I could borrow one for review, and kindly he sent me one over to keep with a few straps, and boy am I happy that he did. I love this watch. It's just so much fun flipping the face over for a different style. I'm surprised that these are still in stock, to be honest, because it's a hell of a watch for the price. I'll leave a link to Vario's website in the description. Go and show them some love. They make great products and the customer service is top tier too. Okay, so this one is my favourite watch in my collection. It's the Orient Komatsu. I can't say enough good things about this piece, to be honest. I wanted one for over a year. I stayed patient and eventually picked one up, and I'm so glad I did. I decided to go for the red dial, and I can confirm that it looks just as good in person as it does in the photos. It's a proper dive watch, this one, built like a tank, and it just looks so bloody good. It's been around the world with me to tons of different countries, festivals, gigs and days out. It's my proper companion watch. It's reliable, beautiful, and without question my favourite watch in my collection. If you've been on the fence about buying a Komatsu, trust me, try one out. I've quietly been a fan of Phoebus for a while, keeping an eye on their releases, so they got in touch asking for a review and I bit their hand off. They sent me the new 2023 Reefmaster, which is a model they've been making for a few years. I'm impressed with the quality of this watch. The lume on it is just absolutely ridiculous, probably even better than my Orient Komatsu. Unfortunately though, the watch is just a bit too big for my taste. It's a little chunky and a little heavy for my tiny wrist, so this one is on the chopping block. I do think it's a good watch though, just not a fit for me. You might be surprised that I haven't featured a Seiko yet. Don't worry, I have one here. This is the Seiko SRPG 63, named by Seiko the Cement, but nicknamed by enthusiasts the Lunar. That's because the dial of this watch resembles the surface of the moon, with cracks and craters populating the dial. I've had my eye on this watch for a while now. I like that it's from the Dress KX family, but features absolutely zero dressy design cues, which makes it feel like a proper tool watch. Because of the factory scratched case, I don't have to worry about beating it up. I can throw it on, have my fun, and not give a single F. I gave into the hype and picked up a Casio a few months ago, but I decided to go with the Casio GAE 2100 instead of the regular GA 2100. This version comes with an extra case and strap, so you can just swap out the strap and case for a completely different look. I've not actually worn this watch much. It is a bit too big for my taste, but I definitely see the value and why so many people love this watch. This one is my dedicated beta though. I usually wear it when I'm doing something sporty. Finally, the newest watch in my collection, and only a few days old actually, is the Citizen Soyosa. I picked this one up as a PRX replacement. I won't say too much on this watch because I have a full video review coming out very soon, but first impressions are extremely positive, and I think this might just be a PRX killer, but you'll have to tune into the full review to hear my thoughts on this one. So that's my entire watch collection. 15 watches currently occupy my watch box. Now 15 is actually a bit too many for me. I like to keep my collection down to around 8, maybe 10 at a push. So a few of these watches are actually already for sale over on my website, so check it out in the description if you liked any of the watches that you saw. But now let me show you a few watches that I'm hoping to own one of by the end of the year. I absolutely have to try out a Nomo soon. It's hard to put a finger on exactly what I like about these watches so much, but I just love them. I'm looking at a Tangente mostly, probably a 36mm version. As mentioned earlier, I'd love a vintage Cartier tank. I actually prefer the ones that have an unusual dial, but I don't know if I'm quite ready to spend 2,000 on one yet. Maybe, who knows. Finally, the last watch on my to-do list is the Omega Dynamic Chronograph. This one is based around the watches Omega used to make for the Allied forces during the war, so I like the story and the design of this piece. So what do you think of my collection? Which watch do you think I should try next? Share your opinions and thoughts down in the comments and I'll be sure to reply to every single one of you. But if you liked this video and want some more top tier ticker, then why don't you watch my video here on screen where I attempt to build the ultimate perfect affordable watch collection.